I wouldn't expect much from fantasy receivers this week. So guys like John Brown are not as interesting to me as, say, a Cole Beasley, who's going to be dependent on underneath to move the chains. And when you talk about Baltimore's defense, I mean, Jimmy Smith, spectacular. Marcus Peters has been playing spectacular. From what I understand, their slot cornerback, Marlon Humphrey, has a thigh injury and is questionable, but he's probably going to play through that. So Beasley is the more interesting play between him and John Brown to me. I think they're going to be able to shut John Brown out again without being able to pass in this weather. So Devin Singletary, man, I am just talk about one of the more frustrating players to play. The kid has all the potential in the world. He can catch the ball. He can run between the tackles. But I really don't think it's going to be a huge game for Singletary, especially when you talk about, potentially depending on Frank Gore a little bit more in this game where weather might be a factor. Dawson Knox becomes an interesting play. Obviously, the tight end field is pretty shallow, so if you can get a touchdown out of anyone, that's an advantage in your lineup. So Dawson Knox, someone that you could play in a desperate situation. And then obviously you're not sitting Lamar Jackson at any point. I was just looking at stats for Lamar Jackson last night, and it's ridiculous. We all know he's on pace to set records this year, but when you just really look at the numbers, he's only rushed for less than 60 yards on the season twice all year long. He has 6 games where he's had 10 rushing attempts or more, which is crazy for a quarterback. He's had 4 games of 100 rushing yards or more. He has 8 rushing touchdowns already on the season, which is just crazy. So when you talk about Lamar Jackson's potential and what he can do, yes, he's going to be limited through the air today, but on the ground, he's a solid play, which is just hilarious to talk about for a quarterback. And then Mark Ingram, I think, is also a good play. This Bills defense is solid through the air, but they give up plenty of yards on the ground. And Mark Ingram's a good play today. Lamar Jackson's a good play today. Mark Andrews is someone that you can definitely play with confidence. The tight end for the Baltimore Ravens, he's going to be good. And then guys like Marquise Brown, same thing with John Brown for me. I think it's just tricky to throw those guys out there in a game where you've got the wind affecting it. So if you like, for me, Jay, I'll ask you this: would you rather play a guy like Hollywood Brown today in this Bills matchup? He's going to be on Tre'Davious White, or would you rather roll out Zach Pascal at Tampa Bay?
I'll take Pascal at Tampa Bay. Marquise Brown, although he is their number 1 receiver, because of their efficiency and not volume of their pass game, he's touchdown dependent. And this matchup, like last week, he had a more favorable matchup, Bupkis. So you really have to. He's a player. You don't want to drop him or not have him. You want him on your bench because he's going to get you have to watch his cornerback matchup, honestly. Like, it's not just the whole defense. You have to watch what that matchup is and if they have a favorable matchup to be able to pass the ball, because they are a run first, run second, run third team, pass the ball fourth. And so it makes it, well,
Yeah.
And it's working. I mean, I'm not knocking it because it's working. People aren't realizing, for a guy they called a glorified running back that can throw, he's one of the most efficient throwers of the football in the league this year. Like, his numbers per like passing attempts are off the freaking chain, man. People are not talking about that part of it because it's this run. No. He throws the ball 24 times and completes 17 or 18 of them for like 200-plus yards and a couple of touchdowns. Like, super efficient thrower. This offense, very difficult to stop. They're committed to it. They don't get away from it even if it doesn't work. But it makes Hollywood Brown, yes, a very difficult play because of that. He is their number 1. He's explosive and dynamic, but they're not going to throw the ball when they get inside the 20 very much because they're going to be able to pound the rock in. Like, he's that guy. He's going to get you a 50-yard touchdown, or, and we're in a PPR league, so that makes it even more difficult because they're not a volume pass, team. So you're not picking up a bunch of points on bubble screens and little, slant routes and stuff. They're just not that. So, yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, I'll take Pascal, especially in a PPR, even though he's clearly not on an offense that's as efficient and not but we're talking playoffs now, baby. You don't take no risks.
Exactly, and I don't think I actually gave Josh Allen enough of an analysis. Jay, I talked about Lamar Jackson's rushing stats, but quietly, Josh Allen is getting his stats back up as well. He has 8 rushing touchdowns on the season himself. So is Josh Allen a guy you think you could lean on today, or would you rather go to the wire, maybe pick up Sam Darnold versus Miami?
Nope. You know what? I believe, and I know this is going to sound funny, Josh Allen at this point, because he's been efficient, he deserves just to stay in there. Because you're going to go pick up a guy on the waiver wire that's just you're not going to get anybody better. You're going to get equal or lesser value, you know. And again, don't give me a screenshot later that you picked up a guy and he got 28 points, you know, and Josh Allen had 20. Okay, congratulations, you got lucky. Like I feel like he's one of these guys where you should just play him, because if you're already streaming quarterbacks, you're only going to go stream another guy that's going to give you equal value for the most part. And yes, you can take a risk and you might win, but he's got more rushing touchdowns. I think his yards per carry are actually better. And out of the 2 quarterbacks, he's bigger, so he can take more abuse. He's harder to bring down in the pocket even, and he's got a bigger arm. I mean, he's not maybe as quite as accurate. I will give Jackson the accuracy edge there, but boy, like there's a difference there. Allen will shed a 300-pound defensive tackle and then rocket the ball 60 yards on a freaking rope down the field to an open receiver. Like he's developing quite nicely. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you guys got something to look forward to. I'm not throwing out goofy words like other, you know, pundits out there. I'm just saying you got something good that you can build on. He's clearly developing. It's an exciting time for the Buffalo Bills. And you know what? I like it when the Bills are good, because this is gonna sound funny, because they're not a big time team. Nobody talks about them, and when they're good, to me, the league's more interesting, because the Buffalo Bills fans are so loyal, you know, and been there so long. Nobody, like, there's people I think that live in parts of this country that don't realize that the Buffalo Bills play in New York. You know, like, it's fun.
You're
when the
absolutely
Bills are
right.
good.
And to have your fan base show up to a game, shovel out their own seats because it's completely buried in snow, and still be willing to sit there all game long, layered up. Some of them obviously come to the game shirtless, out there in Bills Mafia, painted faces, painted bellies, and just loving every minute of it. Those are some loyal-ass fans out there, and I do love those Bills Mafia. You know, it's an interesting thing. I wasn't a part of it. I almost grew up in the area, very close. Happened to go Eagles for a different reason. But, hey, same New York storylines. Dave, we can almost hear you. You're very faint. It's like you're under a bridge. But this is going to be –
no,
it's getting better.
You sound like you're in outer space trying to talk to us through one of those cup phones with a string on it.
That is pretty funny. But yeah.
Dave is just funny. He's trying so hard because he's trying to babysit, right? Okay, he's having one of those mornings. His wife needs some mom time, right? And so he's trying to be the good guy, but he's so obsessed with being on the podcast as a guest. He is walking around the house trying to get his phone to work. It's becoming comical at this point. It's just, I'm not mad at him, but it's funny because he is just desperately trying to get on to say something or anything, and his voice is not being heard. Like,
he is. He loves his Bills Mafia. As much as he's a Packers fan, he's got the same sort of affinity for the Bills that we do. He loves rooting for the underdog. He grew up in New York, so same thing, you know, Jim Kelly and all that. But this game is going to be super.
About the Bills, though, is that's why I think, as Packer fans, that's one of the few franchises where you look and you go, yeah, they're just like the Packers. They've been, those guys fill out their stadium for years, and they're no good. Like, there's not a lot of teams that can be no good for a long time and still fill out their stadium year after year. Like, the Bills fans are very loyal, very true. When they do those fan bases thing and the Packers and the Bills aren't in, like, the top, 3 or so, I just laugh because I'm like, show me the numbers where they were bad for, 5+ year stretch where their numbers for attendance and ticket sales don't dip. There's not a lot of franchises. I can think of 2 right away, and it's the Bills and Packers. There's probably a couple other ones, but that's why I think as Packer fans, when we look over at the Bills Mafia, we root for them because that's us in the '80s, pre-Brett Favre and all that. We feel for him. We appreciate it. There he is, and now he sounds like he's now he sounds like he's got.
Yeah, but
we can.
Last thing I want to mention on this game, guys, it's going to be brutal through the air for these QBs. They're right behind each other in terms of giving up points to the fantasy quarterbacks. Ravens giving up 13.3, Bills giving up 13.1 a game. So this is truly going to be a tale of which quarterback rushes for more yards, which team can rush for more yards total in this game, and they're going to win the game, I believe. If you're going to tell me Ravens are favored by 6, I don't think they're going to cover. I think it's going to be a game that's won by a field goal, but I will take the Ravens on the road to win this game in a windy day.
I have the Bills pulling off this game. I think with the weather, and look, this is splitting hairs. It's not like I sat here and go, oh yeah, there's Bills all day. I look at they've both been doing very well, but there's something. I think there's something with the Bills right now when I watch their team play that I could be wrong, but for whatever reason, when I watch the two teams, they're both performing excellent. This is not saying like despite the Bills have something there I can't explain that makes me, when I think of this game, makes me pick them 24-21. It's a very close game. I know you didn't think they'd get over 40, but I think they're going to score on the ground. Both these teams, I think, are going to have explosive running plays and put up points. I think they'll have a couple of passing plays that set up like red zone running scores, but I think for the most part they can each score 2-3 touchdowns on the ground. Their offenses have proven they can put up efficient points still and not have to throw the ball over the yard, but. Something about the Bills. I can't put my finger on it to explain it, but when I watch the tape, when I do my Game Pass reviews, all the games every week, there's something I can't explain with the Bills right now that I just feel like that's given them the slight edge in this game. And I can be wrong, but this is going to be a good game. And again, I'm bringing this up because Monty talked about this last week. What the hell? 2 weeks in a row. This is the game of the week. I don't give a shit. I don't care about the Patriots and the this game is the game of the week. But you know why it's not the game of the week? I'm going to say it. Because it's the Buffalo Bills. If this was any other team than the Buffalo Bills at 9-3 facing the Ravens, they would be getting a hell of a lot more respect. They have not hyped this game up hardly all week outside of Good Morning Football. I haven't heard anybody talk about this game, that it's a good matchup, or that we should be looking
Whoa, jabronis. I got something for you. Not only does Josh Allen and Singletary rush for more touchdowns than Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram, the Bills win by 10.
Oh, so I'm the lone wolf taking the Ravens? Wow. I'll take it. I'll take that lone wolf all day long.
For you, Dillon. And it's
What's
nice
it say? Tables!
Don't scream in your phone, man. That's bad.
Get the tables.
No, I loved it.
All right,
guys.
Next game, gentlemen.
Let's move into the next matchup. We're going to get right into your cheeseheads, boys. Washington Redskins traveling to Lambeau in Green Bay to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Currently favored by 13 points, your Green Bay Packers are. When you want to talk about injuries coming into this game, your Packers are looking pretty healthy with only Jamal Williams limited all week long with his injury, his lower body injury. Kevin King banged up with the shoulder. Tony Brown with the heel. For the Redskins, wide receiver Paul Richardson has already been ruled out, as has wide receiver Trey Quinn. So he's that important slot possession receiver. He's out of the game, as is Paul Richardson. So they're going to be leaning heavily on guys like Terry McLaurin to get it done. Obviously, the run game as well.
Yeah, I think Darius Geis is going to be heavily used. I think Peterson's the X factor because he's played against Green Bay for so many years, and they got a a playoff game for a chance on the line. Sad as is to say, the Redskins have a chance at the NFC East.